Hello everyone. Welcome for the next session. So we are back with our series of 150 must do questions. So if you have been attending these sessions, then you know you are quite aware that with we being so near to the exam, right? This is the time to look at questions which test concepts which are often asked, uh, right? And secondly, to also get familiar or to get exposure, I would say, to new style of questions, right? It's not just that okay, what has been coming, that is only going to be asked again and again. We are expecting new things to come up because that is what this exams is all about, right? So with that in mind, and with that being the agenda, let's enter into uh, a good practice with all the topics that are often asked, right? Let's see, here we go. uh, so just to remind you that if you're not aware of this, Carry Launcher mobile app is here. It's available on both iOS and Android, one of the many ways to get connected with us. So just make use of it as well. All right. Okay, so people are ready. Let me remind you that how we do this session. I give you a few seconds to look at the problem, right? And then I start discussing. So I'm looking out for your response. Okay. So the idea is you should try to solve it better or quicker than I can do. So can you beat me? All right. So we'll take it up one by one, and let's see if somebody can solve it right, but faster than I can. So that's the idea. The idea being that uh, the time that I'm taking to solve, that is the ideal time, right? So if you can do better than that, then that's good, right? Okay. So with that being the theme, let's start. Here we go. First one. All right, so I'll give you a few seconds to think and then we'll discuss. All right, okay. Now here we go. Okay, the students of a class have three options to choose the sport they play amongst cricket, football, or volleyball. So three sports that the students are playing. Now he gives some kind of a relation which I can say can be written down in the form of an equation, right? And then he says each student must play exactly one of the three sports, which the following could be the total number of students in the class. The most important thing is that the question's language is possibility based, could be. So he's not asking how many students are there, he's asking for the possibility. So from where does the logic come of this? Let's see. So once you write the equation that was given for the statement, so if I take, let's say, X, Y, Z to represent the respective number of students who are playing cricket, football, and volleyball. So the equation becomes 8 times of cricket, so 8 into X, 9 times the number of students who play football, so 9 into Y, and 6 times those who play volleyball, 6Y, are all the same. So it's a three-way equality. 8X equals 9Y equals 6Y. So this is a question of ratios, isn't it? Because this three-way equality tells us a ratio of the three variables, right? This is something that is quite fundamental to ratios. If you have a equality of this style, something into something into this variable, something times this variable is equal to each other, so that gives us the ratio of x's to y's to z. How? Well, so all these three things are equal to each other, so they must be equal to some value or some number, isn't it? So that number, can I say, is a common multiple of 8 and 9 as well as 6, right? So I'm looking for a LCM of these coefficients 8, 9, 6, which is 72. So let's say this is equal to 72k, right? So with this, we can equate these three quantities to this 72k and we can get the ratio, because we are getting that 8x is 72k. So x is coming to be 9k. Y 9y is 72, so y is 8k, and y is coming and z. Sorry, this is z, and z is coming to be 12k. 72 by 6. So isn't it a ratio over here that we're getting? 9 is to 8 is to 12, right? So what about the total? Because that is what the question is all about. The total number of students in the class. It's x plus y plus z, right? Because of the statement that each student must play exactly one of the three sports, right? So there is no overlap of anything sort. Okay, it's not that somebody can play cricket as well as football. It's not a question of Venn diagram, right? It's a question where people are distinct from each other, and also there is nobody who plays nothing. So the total number of students is exactly equal to x plus y plus z, which is coming to be 8 plus 9k plus 8k plus 12k. So the point is k here has to be an integer, because 9, 8 and 12 are co-prime numbers. So we cannot reduce this further. So 9 and 8, 17, 17 and 12, 29. The total number of students therefore is of the form 29k. It's a multiple of 29. And therefore, from the options, the very first option for k equal to 58 fits the situation, right? So very common theme on ratios, right? So with this equation, we get the ratio. Once we get the ratio, the total needs to be a multiple of a certain, factor that comes over here. We get that as 29, right? So it's a core problem on ratios, how it gets solved, how this three-way equality leads us to the ratio between the variables, and how we get the answer. All right, so people, I think I've set the mood for the first question. With the first question, I've solved it. I think Anand has given the answer eventually, but let's back up. So let me remind: the idea of the session is you solve it faster than I can. Right? Try to beat me. Okay, so I'll give you a few seconds for each question to look at it, and let's see who can get this. All right. So I'll declare the names of all the people who get this. All right, next one: profit loss discount. I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, quite doable one. Let's go. All right, now let's see. So this tomato vendor has bought some tomatoes to sell. He sells them at a price of 25 rupees. Well, I wish I could get that. I'm getting this as at 80, 100 at these days. Old days. Okay, so he sells them at 25 rupees per kg, but at the end of the day, 10% stock remains unsold with no salvage value. No salvage value means, so 10% of the stock is like, it does not yield any revenue for him. It, however, obviously still creates a cost factor for him. If he still realizes 25% profit, at what price did he buy the tomatoes? Perfect. In this question, what is not given is the quantity in kg of the total lot. Okay, so since whenever something is not given, we can safely assume it to be a suitable number. As you have seen many times, we have done that, right? So here also we'll do that we'll let's say take 100 kg. Okay, does not matter what we take. So we are taking the total lot size or the quantity of tomatoes to be 100 kg. The cost prices that we are trying to find per kg. So let's say that is x rupees per kg. So therefore, his total cost comes to be 100x, right? 100x is his total cost. Now, when it comes to selling, his selling price is 25 rupees per kg, and since he does not end up selling all of it, 10% is unsold. So the quantity that he actually sells is only 90 kg. So based on that, the revenue that he gets, the total selling price, the overall total final revenue is simply this 25 times 90, which is 2250 rupees, right? 2250 rupees. Since he realizes 25% profit, it means the selling price should be 1.25 times of the cost price. This selling price means the total revenue, not the selling price per kg, but the total revenue should be 1.25 times the total cost or 5 by 4 times the total cost, right? So that equation will give us the value of x, isn't it? So the selling price we know is 2250, or let me write it as 25 times 90. So because that would help me to do cancellations quite easily. So 1.25 is 5 by 4 and cost price is the total of 100x. So 5 by 4 into 100 is 125x. So x is 25 into 90 by 125, which very beautifully gives me the correct answer as 25 cancels, 5 remains, 5 also cancels with 90, 18. Perfect. So that's the answer, 18 rupees per kg. Right. So this question was about backtracking, right? Typically we expect, okay, cost should be given, we further proceed, right? Here the selling price was given, profit percentage was given, also this concept of unsold and salvage value, that thing, and taking that into consideration, we had to backtrack the cost. It came to be 18. Perfect. Okay, I'll give you time for the next one as well. Thank you, Lavanya, you gave the answer eventually. uh, all right, now let's see next one. Here we go. Time and work, people. Next one, here we go. Okay, giving you a minute to think on this. All right, now let's jump in. So if you're getting the answer, let me know. Okay, I'm looking at the chat box now. Next, so as compared to Amit, so it's a question on three people, as you have seen: Amit, Bimal, and Chirag. The first statement gives us some kind of comparison of their work rate, right? So let's start noting the things. Amit, Bimal, and Chirag. First thing is all about the work rate, right? As far as the work rate or efficiency is concerned, as compared to Amit, Bimal works at 25% higher rate. So let's say I'm just giving a numerical value over here for Amit's work rate. Let's say that is 100 units. So 25% more. So Bimal's work rate becomes 125 units, and Chirag works at 50% higher rate. So that is 150 units. In comparative form, these numbers give us the ratio of their work rate, right? So we can simplify this ratio. 100 is to 125 is to 150. 25 can be cancelled. So this is 4 ratio 5 ratio 6 in the simplest form. Now, in this question, we can apply the kind of, that LCM approach kind of thing, where we assume the work or we assume the work rate. Okay. In LCM approach, we can either assume the work quantity or the work rates. So since we have got the work rate ratio, so let us do one thing. Let us denote the work rate for the three respective persons as 4, 5, 6 units itself respectively, right, per day. Okay. So therefore, let's say Amit work rate is 4 units per day, 4 units of work per day. For Bimal, it is 5, and for Chirag, it is 6. Right. So with that, we can use this to further define the total work, because then it is given that if Amit works for 6 days, Chirag works for 2 days, 1/10 of the work is done. So 1/10 of the work can be equated to this, right? We can say, therefore, that 1/10 of the total work, right, equals what Amit has worked in 6 days, which is 4 into 6, 24. And what Chirag has worked for 2 days, so 6 into 2, because can we take 60 as total work? Lavanya is asking. See, Lavanya, let me explain what exactly I'm doing. See, typically we are told, when that in LCM approach we assume the work, Okay, I have deliberately taken this question to explain the idea. See, you it is not necessary, and LCM approach does not only mean you assume the work. Okay, if you have got the work rates of three persons, why can't you assume the work rate? It's one and the same thing. If you're assuming the work rate, given that you have obtained the ratio as over here from the first statement, why can't you go ahead and say, okay, let's say 4, 5, 6 units per day is their work rates respectively. That, once we assume that, automatically defines the total work from the next statement, which I am just writing. Are you getting my point? So I'm trying to tell you a um, very subtle point over here, right? LCM approach, either assume the total work as some value or assume the work rate as some value. Either which way, it is one and the same thing and helps you to answer, right? So therefore, as I was saying, 1/10 of the work therefore is what Amit has worked for 6 days. So 6 into 4, 24. And what Chirag has worked for 2 days. So Chirag's work rate is 6. So 6 into 2, 12. So 24 plus 12, which is 36 units, is 1/10 of the work, which means the total work is coming to be 360 units. So your work rates are also defined over here. Your total work is also defined over here. So now you can easily close down the answer to the question that if all three of them work together, in how many days can the same work be done? So if all three of them are working together, the total rate is 4 plus 5, 9 plus 6, 15 units per day. So at this rate, the time that will be taken is 360 is the total work, divided by 15 units per day is the rate. 360 by 15 is 24. That is the answer. Right. So all right, so this is how the ratio was the key, right? To deduce the ratio of the work rate and then proceed as we said, we discussed, right? Okay, so that's what we are doing, people. Looking at subtle points, how to tackle information, how to process the given values. Ready for next one? Here we go. Let's see. Remember, it's a mixed bag, and we are in the last phase of our preparation. So we're looking at all those different style of questions which are the most expected and also the new concepts. Okay, so something on geometry over here. Figure is also given. I'll give you a few seconds to understand this. Anant, uh, Anant is asking about where to practice geometry. Anant, I always say only one thing, nothing else but only one. PYQs, nothing else is required. एनीथिंग यू आस्क मी, सर कहाँ से करूँ, क्या करूँ, प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन बना लो. 30 सालों के पेपर्स पड़े हुए हैं. इट्स सच अ ह्यूज रिपोजिटरी, यू कैन नॉट फिनिश इन द रिमेनिंग डेज इफ यू स्टार्ट. इवन if you have done the last 5 years. Okay, people think na last 5 years that PYQ means last 5 years. PYQ means 30 years plus history of CAT examinations. बुक आती है PYQs की 30 years plus, उसको आप खत्म नहीं कर पाओगे in the remaining days. Let me tell you, that's the only thing you need. Okay, so while we were speaking, I think you got some time to try this and look at this, or no? Okay, so I'm starting off. If you get the answer, do let me know. To have more green area around a square park, so you can see that in the middle there is a square ABCD. So around this square park, its boundary is extended in the form of a regular octagon AWB. Da, da, da. So basically, you can think in the reverse manner that there was this regular octagon, and inside of that, by joining the alternate vertices, we have got a square, right? If you just understand the geometry of the situation, the question is asking for the increase in the park's area. So you can see that obviously on the outer sides of the square park, there are those extensions which have created that regular octagon. So you are basically, your job, I think, over here is to find the ratio of the area of the square to the area of the octagon, isn't it? Now, so what approach is required? See, uh, the first thing in geometry problem is to look out for symmetry. Okay, so this figure is quite symmetric because of the regular polygons. There is a square, there's a regular octagon. So if I do one thing, see there is a point which is the center of the square as well as the regular octagon, right? In the bang in the middle, right? If I join this point, let's call that as point as O, which is the center of both the regular polygons, to any consecutive vertices over here, I mean of the square A and B, right? So what I'll get basically is I'll get obviously I'll get 1/4 of the square AOB, and I'll get 1/4 of the octagon also, which is OAWB. My point is that the ratio of the area of this triangle OAB to that to that triangle WAB represent the ratio of the original square park to the new area, because this area is 1/4 of the old area of the green park, and this is 1/4 of the area of the new regular, I mean the extra area because created because of the regular octagon. So therefore our job is to find the percentage of this new area to this old area. This fraction, its percentage, we have to approximately mark, right? That's the job, isn't it? So that's the first thing. Next is obviously, since there is no dimensions, no numbers, no values, no length, nothing is given. So you need to assume either some number or some variable for the, let's say, edge length of the square park, the original one, and proceed from there. So let's call that AB, the length AB is A. I'm taking it as a variable. You can take it as 1 unit, 100 unit, anything. I'm taking it as a variable just so that it, it retains in our mind, okay, we are proceeding with the side length as A. Now, so obviously the old park area is simply 1/4 of A square, 1/4 the area of the square, right? A square, uska 1/4, right? Now coming to this new area, that is the obvious challenge over here. Because of the symmetry, it is obvious that, I mean, it's a regular polygon, so AW will be equal to WB. Let's call that as XX each. Now, since this has to be an isosceles triangle, now, what about the internal angle of a regular octagon? It's a regular octagon. We know that the internal angle of a regular polygon of n sides, each internal angle is given by 180 minus 360 degree divided by n. So for n equal to 8, the internal angle of a regular octagon is 180 minus this 360 by 8, which is 45. So this angle AWB is 135 degree. I think all of us should already know this number on our, like, we should know this on our tips. Like a regular hexagon is 120, regular octagon is 135, right? 180 minus 360 by n. Pentagon is 108, right? Okay, so now, so the point is you have to find the area of this triangle AWB, isn't it? We have represented two consecutive sides as XX and their internal angle is 135 degree. So using the formula of half AB sine C for the area of a triangle, we can get the area as half into x into sine 135 degree. Now the job remains to find this x in terms of A, because to relate the areas, obviously we have to relate x in terms of A. That's the job. Okay, now AB over here is A, right, which is the third side. Since three sides and one angle are involved, now we can start to use the cosine rule to get some kind of equation over here, isn't it? Solving a triangle requires two things, or we have two rules. One is the sine rule, one is the cosine rule. Whenever you have to find one side in terms of the other two sides and one angle is known, you can use the cosine rule. So you can use that and say that AB square. So what is cosine rule? So in terms of this triangle WAB, equation becomes AB square equals WA square plus WB square minus 2 into WA into WB into cos of angle AWB. That's the cosine rule, right? So therefore, equation becomes A square equals x square plus x square, WA square plus WB square minus 2 into x, which is x square, into cos 135 degree. What is cos 135 degree? Little bit trick is also required, right? So this is completely full, I mean, geometry, trigonometry, everything. So cos 135 degree, you should know this. Cos of 180 minus theta is minus cos theta. Cos of 180 minus theta is minus cos theta. So cos of 135 equals minus cos 45, which is minus 1 by root 2. So once I plug that, minus minus becomes plus, and this becomes, so x square plus x square 2x square minus 2x square into 1 by root 2. So minus minus plus 2 by root 2, which is root 2 x square. So I'm getting the equation that a square equals 2 plus root 2 times x square, or x square is a square over 2 plus root 2. So we finally have got some equation over here, right? Now coming back to the area of the triangle, finally, which, as I was saying, we can use the formula of half AB sine C. So it will become half into x into sine 135 degree, sine 135 degree. Again, let me remind you, trigonometry, you should know that sine of 180 minus theta equals sine theta, right? So therefore, sine 135 degree is the same as sine 45 degree, which is 1 by root 2. So this becomes basically x square by 2 root 2. And now we can substitute this x square over here from here in this. So what do we get? Now, do you see this is 2 root 2 and multiplied with 2 plus root 2. So if I take a root 2 common from here, see 2 plus root 2 can be written as root 2 into bracket root 2 plus 1. So root 2 into root 2 becomes 2, 2 into 2, 4. So I hope you understand this is becoming 4 into root 2 plus 1. The point is, it is easier now to relate the areas in ratio form, because this is a square by 4 and this is 1 by root 2 plus 1 times of a square by 4. So can I say that the new area, let me make some space over here. Let me write over here what I'm saying. So this ratio, right, of new area to old area, can I say when I divide these two, so a square by 4 will cancel and I'm left with the fraction 1 by root 2 plus 1, right? That is the final thing. So therefore, this we can easily rationalize root 2 minus 1 by root 2 minus 1. Denominator simply becomes 1. So this is simply root 2 minus 1. So the new area is root 2 minus 1 times of old area. Root 2 is 1.414 approximately. So this is approximately 0.414. So therefore, can I say that area is approximately 41.4% of the old area, and therefore the new area is from the options approximately, creating the extra area of 41%. Okay, so very intensive question, I would say, of geometry, using some of the, I mean, lot of concepts, isn't it? So cosine rule, Lavanya, is basically sine rule, cosine rule are the pillars of how to solve a triangle, right? Go read this up. This is one of the core ideas on geometry, right? Cosine rule and sine rule. Sine rule says a by sine a equals b by sine b equals c by sine c. Cosine rule says c square equals a square plus b square minus 2ab cos c. They are just equations which help us to solve the geometry of the triangle. All right, so that's what we use over here. Perfect. Let's see next one. Here we go. We are still in the middle of our session with a lot of questions to go. Here we go. Something on PNC. All right, so I'll let you try this for a minute and then we'll discuss. I haven't got your anybody's answer so far. I'm still looking out for your responses. So please try to answer this question. Okay, it's a very interesting one. We know that one question of PNC always comes. Yeah. Please give me the answers on this one. I will not start solving unless I get some response. I'll just respond to Lavanya. I just want to do that because I do want to just spend 1 minute over here. So we got this right. I'm just clearing this. So Lavanya, I'm just doing this quickly for you. You asked me where do you use and how do you use sine and cosine rule. So in any triangle, right? In any triangle, if we denote, let's say this is a triangle ABC. So the convention is ABC, and then sides we write such that angle A opposite to that we have side A, angle B opposite to that we write side B, and side angle C we write side small c. So capital letters for angles, small letters for sides. So when a sine rule says that A by sine A equals B by sine B equals C by sine C. In simple terms, if we know the three angles of a triangle, then we know the three side. Then we, if we know the three angles of a triangle, then we know the ratio of the sides, because this equation is basically telling us A ratio B ratio C equals sine A ratio sine B ratio sine C. This is sine rule. Cosine rule is in a symmetric manner is an equation, nothing else, which we use in solving this question, which is c square equals a square plus b square minus 2ab cos of angle C. That's what we use in this question. Right? That is sine rule and cosine rule. Very useful in problem solving. Okay. Now, let's solve this. No, Anant, it's not about remembering all the diagonal length of octagon hexagon. I'm just saying you should remember all the internal angle values. We had 135 degree was the internal angle of the regular octagon. That was the from where we started discussing, right? Because that triangle became a 135 degree angle. So that's how we solved the geometry of the question, isn't it? So that's what you should know. Hexagon internal angle is 120, or pentagon is 108, octagon is 135, right? Because apart from the triangles and quadrilaterals, pentagon, hexagon, and octagon also are asked. Okay, so I haven't yet got the answer, people, for this question. Yeah. Please respond. Please respond. I'm giving you a few more seconds. Please solve this. Please solve this. Thank you, Anant. Perfectly done. Very well. Thank you. Good. Nice. It feels very good, if you ever become a teacher, you will realize getting an answer from a student gives like a good feeling. Yeah, thank you so much, Anant. Very nice. Because I know what this question requires. So okay, so here it is. Thank you, Anant. And yeah, so this is how we should do this. So this question requires two concepts to be applied simultaneously, because you can see there are two conditions, right? A wants to sit with B, but C does not want to sit with D. So A wants to sit with B. If you have done this, is like the bundle approach, or the grouping approach. You group them. You bundle them as a one unit, right? And C not with D is like the using. It will require us to use basically the gap approach, the gap method. Okay, C and D needs to be, they need to be placed amongst the gaps created by the other people, so that they are not together, right? So need to apply that simultaneously. So what we'll do, there is A B C D F. E and F have don't have any condition. Let's keep C and D aside. पहले सी और डी को साइड में रखो, उसको बाद में देखेंगे। उसको उसके ऊपर हमको we have to apply the gap method, the gap approach. उसको हम we'll see at the later. First, there is E, जिसके ऊपर कोई कंडीशन नहीं है. There is F, and there is this bundle of A and B kept together as a single unit. So these three units, I would say, because these are not three persons but four persons, two persons individually and one unit of A and B, because we want A and B to be bundled together, right? So first doing that, these three units can be arranged without any restriction in three factorial ways in three locations. I'm not saying these are three consecutive seats where these persons are sitting. I'm not saying that. These are three units with gaps also between them, right? So first arrange these three units in three factorial, but within these three units, there is one unit of two persons. That unit can internally arrange themselves in two factorial ways, or simply two ways. They can shuffle between themselves, right? So that takes care of the arrangement of these three units. Now come these C and D. So this has arranged these four people, 3 factorial into 2 factorial. Then comes that there are these four gaps created in and around these three units, right? So in these four gaps, these two persons can come and arrange themselves in 4p2 ways, two places to be filled uh, right? In four, from four places we have to choose and arrange people in them. That is the answer, which comes to be just calculating this. 3 factorial is 6, 2 factorial is 2, 4b2 is nothing but 4 into 3, 6 into is 12, 12, and this is also 12, 12 into 12, 144 ways, right? Lavanya, my honest advice is just practice a little bit on number. So Lavanya is asking, he's finding PNC difficult. My honest suggestion is just do little bit practice on this kind of person arrangement, and second is number based arrangement. That's all, because you get only one question on PNC in most likelihood. Okay, in almost 70-80% of the cases the questions are asked on digit based, number arrangement based questions, right? होते हैं ना जिसमें there's a how many 4-digit numbers can be formed using digits 0, 5, 6, 7, which is divided by 4. So those kind of questions are typically have the highest chance. So PNC is little exhaustive, little requires little effort, patience. So since we are now in the crunch time, so this is not we don't have the luxury of time to be spending days and weeks together on just one topic where we are going to get only one question, right? It is that therefore requiring us not leave Lavanya, not leave, as I'm saying, just get little bit hang of digit based arrangement problems. Very high likelihood to get either that or maybe like this simple persons arrangement constraint based, right? Okay, right. So this is, I hope, exposing you to how to manage these constraints, right? If two people need to be arranged to be always together, bundle them together. If some people need to be away from each other, place them in the gaps created by the other persons who have to arrange. Okay, so we did both of them simultaneously. Fine. Yeah. Thank you, Lavanya. Uh, okay. Time and distance. Next one. Now, again, I'll give you a minute or two to process this and then we'll discuss. Interesting. Yes. So this question requires a very careful interpretation of the situation, that what is actually happening. Okay, so here it is, people. This question is basically completely and thoroughly a question on relative speed concept. Now, you might obviously say, yeah, that's very obvious. But then how to make use of it, and how to, how do we use that concept in this question? So see, trains are coming from behind of this boy. So when a train passes him, right, the next one is also behind, ready to approach the boy again and meet him again. So these trains, it is given that both these trains on both the tracks, trains are running at equal time intervals. So there are trains coming from behind him on this track where he's, along which he's, traveling or running rather, and on the other track, from the opposite side also, that oncoming trains are approaching him. So this time, so this question only gives us a value of time, 40 minutes, 24 minutes, and only asks us a value of time. So there is nothing given over here about the speed of the train, the speed of the boy, um, the, the time interval between two consecutive trains. that are coming, and that is exactly what is being asked, because the time interval between two consecutive trains is exactly the answer to the question, that if the boy stops walking at intervals of how many minutes will two consecutive trains going in the same direction cross him. So if he stands still, that is exactly the time, isn't it? So it is, so question is effectively or indirectly asking us, Anand, this time 15, I don't think so it makes any sense, Anand, because it is very obvious that 24 and 15, so it should be somewhere in the middle, na? It is very obvious. It's very obvious, na? 24 is when the trains are approaching him very fast, right? Faster than their usual speed, because he's also approaching them. 40 minutes is when the trains are lagging, delaying. I mean, they're coming slowly towards him, because he's also running away from those trains. So obviously, when he stands still, so effectively, it has to be somewhere in the middle of 24 and 40, isn't it? So here it is, people. So 40 minutes, right? Trains coming from behind. Let's say this is the boy. I'm writing B for the boy. Just right now he's here. Okay. And a train has just crossed him, which came from behind. Let's call that T1. Just crossed him. There is another train called that T2, just now coming from somewhere behind. Since the trains are, running at equal time intervals, so they're also equally spaced apart always. Let's say there's this distance d between two consecutive trains, which this distance d is also always going to be the same distance between any two consecutive trains, right? So one is this distance d that we don't know, one is the speed of the boy which we don't know. Let's call the speed of the boy as x in whatever units. Okay, since it's minutes, so I'll take kilometers per hour. Okay, also we don't know the speed of the train, so also let's take that the speed, this is the speed of the boy, and I'm taking the other variable for the train as y. Fine, three variables we do need minimum, right? Distance we don't know, speeds for the one is a person, one is an object, right? We don't know. So obviously this is the time. 40 minutes is basically the time required for this train T2 to cover this distance d at the relative speed of y minus x, because obviously train is faster, right? So right, so at this speed, this distance is covered in this time of 40 minutes. So we can just write the equation of relative speed. Distance is speed in time. So distance d equals the relative speed, which is x, y minus x. I've taken y for the speed of the train, y minus x, into the time, which is 40 minutes or 40 by 60 hours. I'm just writing 40. Okay, so let me write 40 by 60. Okay, fine. Yeah. Equation number one. Equation number two for the second situation, when this boy B is being approached by the trains coming from the opposite side. So from the other side of the track, trains which are, so boy, in this case, boy was moving in this direction, trains were also moving in this direction. Now boy is moving in this direction, but trains are now moving in the opposite direction to him. So let's call this as train T3, which has just crossed from the opposite side of the track. And there is this train T4, again the same distance d behind, right, which is now approaching this boy at the relative speed of y plus x. So again, the same thing, that this 24 minutes is taken by this train T4 to cover this distance d at this relative speed of y plus x. So again, the second equation becomes that distance d is relative speed of y plus x into time of 24 minutes, which is 24 by 60 hours. So you can now understand that we have three variables. Anant, your answer is correct. Anant, your answer is correct. However, you got that. Okay, very well done. Answer is correct. Now, yeah. So, did you do it like this, by the way, or I mean, this is the the proper way I'm doing, right? You're saying you're confused. I don't know why, but your answer is correct. Very well done. Right. So obviously now I was so in this we have three variables but two equations. So objective is not to solve for the values of the three variables. We can't do that. But try to understand the objective of the question. The objective of the question is the time interval between two consecutive trains. So what is that? the time interval between two consecutive trains is nothing but simply the time required by any of the one trains. Okay, let's say this train one. Okay, let's consider this first diagram in which this boy is. Let's imagine this boy is standing still over here. This train T1 has just crossed him. After how much time will the train T2 come at the same location? Obviously, the train T2 needs to cover this distance D at its own speed of y. So the time interval between two consecutive trains is nothing but simply this distance D divided by the speed of the train y, isn't it? This is what we have to find, right? Because that is the time interval between two consecutive trains. The time required by any one train to cover the distance which is equal to the that the spacing in terms of the distance between two consecutive trains is the time gap between two trains, right? So from these we have to find d by y. We don't have to find d. We can't find x, we can't find y, but we can find d by y. Just divide the two equations. Just divide the two equations. First equation divided by second equation, or simply say we are equating d from both the equations. So y minus x into 40 equals y plus x into 24. This will give us the ratio of x to y. 40 and 24, 8 can be cancelled. This is 5, this is 3. Simplify. We are getting one equation, 5y minus 5x equals 3y plus 3x. So we are getting that 5y minus 3y, which is 2y, equals 5x, 3x, 8x, or we are getting y equals 4x. Or we can also say that x equals y by 4. The speed of the boy is 1/4 of the speed of the train, right? So therefore, if x is y by 4, you can substitute this back into the first equation and get the value of d by y. Because doing that, we get, so I'm putting this thing in this equation over here. So what do we get? We get d is y minus x is y by 4. So d equals y minus y by 4 into 2 by 3, 40 by 60. Right, this will come in. So let me write in minutes only. This is for, let me write in minutes only. Now we'll get the answer in minutes only. So this is giving us d equals 3 by 4 y into 40 minutes. So we are getting now d by y is 30 minutes. 3 by 4 into 40, 30. Yeah, so that is the answer. Right, so yeah, that is 30. Right, so a very unique style of question asked on the concept of relative speed. I hope this uh, you know uh, this was interesting, and if you get something similar, you know how to do this. All right, okay, so we are not yet done. We have very some more interesting questions coming up. Ready for the next one? Right, I hope this is clear to everyone. Let's move to the next one. Graphs, geometry, coordinate geometry, graphs, area bounded. Okay, so that's what this question is all about. Let me give you a minute again to try this. Anant, if I'm able to understand what you're saying, y plus y equal to 2y. So the speed of the boy and the train are not the same. I mean, if I'm able to understand what you're saying, the equation that you have put is not correct, methodically speaking. By hook and crook, you got the answer. You got lucky, I think. Okay. The boy and the, so you have to take those three variables which I explained. That is the uh, correct way to put it. Right. Okay. So trying this one. Yeah. This style of questions have been also asked many times in recent years, so that's why I put up a similar style of a problem. right? A lot of modulus based equations and some region that you have to identify and then find its area. So geometry is involved, algebra is involved, because how do these equations map to create the graph? So there's a question purely on graphs, sketching, right? Curve sketching, modulus equations, interpreting the modulus equations. So it's again, you know a lot of concepts put together, right? So if you get this, do let me know. Okay, so right, Anand, let's do this. What's the area of the region bounded, right? So there are two equations. The second one is very easy. Y equals 5 and y equals minus 5 will be two horizontal lines. All of us know that. It is this equation, obviously, which you need little carefully. You need to understand how its graph will get created. There is modulus on both y as well as x. How do we handle this? See, modulus opens, with its restriction. When the input is positive, it opens as plus sign. When the input inside the modulus is negative, it opens with a minus sign. So what we'll do, we'll draw obviously the drawing the graph of this is the first and foremost challenge, right? I mean task, I would say, not challenge, task, whatever. X axis, y axis, right? So um, let me do little bit color coding over here for you to understand this easily. So first, the easiest thing, this is the line y equals 5 I'm drawing. This is the line y equals minus 5 which I'm drawing, right? Then let me do this in green for this equation. Okay, so when x is positive, when x is positive, so on this side when x is positive, so mod y equals x plus 1. So for x more than 0, mod x will be x. So mod y is x plus 1. So which means y is plus or minus of x plus 1. So the line y equals x plus 1 only for x more than 0 will be drawn. So this line, which will meet the line y equals 5. So y is x plus 1. So obviously this will be the point 4 comma 5, because y is x plus 1. So when y is 5, x plus 1 is 5 or x is 4. Similarly, minus of x plus 1, which is minus x minus 1. So with the slope of minus 1 and with the y-intercept of minus 1, starting from here. So this line was starting from 0 comma 1. Y equals minus x minus 1, starting from 0 comma minus 1. Okay, and minus x minus 1. So meeting the line y equals minus 5 in a very symmetric manner at 4 comma minus 5 again, right? Right, y equals minus x minus 1. So y equals 5. So minus x minus 1 equals 5, right? So x equals 4. Right, now half the job is done. Come for x more less than negative, for come to x less than 0. Right, when x is negative, when x is less than 0, your equation is that mod y equals minus x plus 1, or put that as 1 minus x, which means that y is plus or minus of 1 minus x. So y is either x minus 1 or 1 minus x, right? So what is going to be the line y equals x minus 1? This line from here, slope 1, y-intercept minus 1. Again, meet in a symmetric manner, y equals this, right? I'm writing over here also side by side, just so that you can understand. This was the line y equals x plus 1. This was the line y equals minus x minus 1. This is the line y equals x minus 1, meeting the line y equals minus 5 at minus 4. This is obviously minus 4 comma minus 5. And likewise, y equals 1 minus x. So this line over here, 1 minus x with the y-intercept of 1 and the slope of minus 1, meeting this line y equals 5. This is the line y equals 1 minus x, meeting the line y equals 5 at x equal to minus 4. So this is minus 4 comma 5. Right, so obviously that is the correct answer. By now I have done all the hard work, right? So it is this triangle and the triangle below, which is the identical congruent triangle, the exact same shape. Those two areas which we have to add up. Two identical triangles whose base and altitude can easily be identified. The base being from this -4 to the +4, the base for this triangle becomes 8. This length, this one, which I'm just making dark, and the height is nothing but this, which is from, this is y equals 1, this is y equals 5. So the height or the altitude is this 4. So the area of this triangle as well as this triangle is the same, which is half into 4 into 8, half into 4 into 8 here, and the same below. So 16 and 16, 32 is the total area, right? So if you look up the previous questions, right, very similar questions have been asked where you need to manage, curve sketching. Typically modulus based equations have been asked, so such kind of similar things are expected. Okay, so this was this one. Are you in the mood for the last problem of the session? Yes, ready to jump into the next one? Here we go, people. Very interesting question coming up your way. Okay, I'll give you a minute or two. I'll give you a minute or two. I've saved the best for the last. Okay, some very interesting logic is there in this question. I'll let you try this for 2 minutes. There's a story, isn't it, around to this question? You can imagine it's midnight, you are out partying. I'm sure you want to be the one with the four-wheeler. Now, I'm sure that uh, you can do something over here because you know what needs to be done, isn't it? Having read the question by now, I'm sure you know what to do. So you can understand a little bit hidden trial sort of thing is involved, isn't it? So I'm sure you're trying to do that. I would want to hear your answers. And when you give the answer, give me the like respective values also. Not just the answer, but also the breakdown of that. Okay, Anand, I just saw your response for that too, I think. Okay, accepted. So you did not understand the question exactly what it was. I hope you understood it eventually. Right. So I'm giving you time. Okay. I'll not answer this. Huh? I'm giving you time to, I mean, I need answers on this. I need your response. Avigyan, what is the breakup of that six? How many two wheelers? How many three wheelers? How many of them are four wheelers? Can you give them can you give me the breakdown, please? I no, I don't want just like guessing. Okay, I don't want guesswork. Okay, so not no response so far. Still, I'm waiting for answers. You can please answer me. Uh, Obviously, you have to deal with 2 to 2. So, began 2 to 2. Does that create 18 wheels? 2 into 2 plus 2 into 3. So, first of all, 2 to 2 is not possible because of the. You not read the question, Abhigan. The number of two wheelers is not the same as the number of three wheelers, which in turn is not the same as the number of four wheelers. That's the primary condition. Don't forget, right? You can't have the same number of vehicles of any two types. Okay, so I have not yet got the answer. It's been 4 minutes. Let's see now. Let's say X, Y, and Z represent the number of 2, 3, and 4 wheelers respectively. So you have only one equation and three variables to solve for. 2x plus 3y plus 4z is 18. Basically, you have to just think over here that there are two parameters apart from this equation. One is x is not equal to y is not equal to z. And the other thing is that x, y, z are integers, positive integers, not even whole numbers. How 5, Anant? What is the breakup of that 5? Okay, so we have only one equation, three variables to solve with obviously the parameter, the binding constraint being x, y, z are positive integers and no two are equal to each other. Well, the thing is, you look at this 2x, 4z, and 18 are all even. You have to solve, na? But the point is, 18 is a very small number. So the answer to this, see, it's a theta question. It means the answer is unique, right? There cannot be more than one combination of x, y, z values which satisfy this constraint, which satisfy this equation under the constraint that no two variables need to be equal to each other and all of the three variables are positive integers. So I'm saying focus on this y. Correct, Anand. Anand, thank you. You finally gave the correct answer. Thank you so much. Okay, so Anand has outshined today session by far, giving all the answers. Uh, Everybody should get involved. Nidhi also gave few answers in the between. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, so people, as I was saying, x and z. I mean, 2x is even, 4z is even, 18 is even. So y has to be even, na? So the minimum value of y that you can think of is 2. It has to be even, right? So 3 into 2, 6. If I take y equals 2 and start from there, then this takes care of 6 wheels. Now how many wheels are left? 12, right? So we are left with 2x plus 4, and you cannot now use the value of 2 for x or z, and you're left with the equation that 2x plus 4z. So 6 is used here, 18 minus 6, you're left with 12, or that x plus 2z is 6. Given that you can't use the value 2 for any of the two variables, the only way that you can satisfy this equation, as Anand has already given the answer, is obviously now x has to be even again. The same logic, 2z is even, 6 is even, so x has to be even, but x can't be 2, so x has to be minimum of minimum 4. And if x is 4, then z has to be 1. You cannot do anything else. I mean, these are minimum possible numbers that you could have assigned to these variables respectively, one after the other, that you have done. Hence, this is the only unique solution to this equation. Hence, x must be 4, y must be 2, z must be 1. There is no other way. So there is one four-wheeler in the parking lot. That is your Ferrari. Okay, there is my three-wheeler over there, and there is my friend's two-wheeler over there. Right, there are four, of those two-wheelers. Right, so that's the situation. 4217 is the answer. All right, so people, that was today's session. I hope that it opened your minds. That was my, my philosophy, my approach, my I mean, at this crucial juncture, you should be exposed to new style of questions. Your mind should be always thinking, right? um, Zero is not allowed, right? Anand, zero is not allowed, right? Zero is not allowed because there are two wheelers, three wheelers, as well as four wheelers, right? Okay, so uh, all the best, people. As I was saying, I hope this helps, and I hope we'll meet you very soon again in the next session. Right, so these sessions are always ongoing until our CAT examination. So hoping to see you very soon with the next one, and keep up your good work. Thank you so much. Uh, all the best. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Take care.